a lot of folks popping in now. I'll repeat this a couple of times. My name is Law Loving, and I'll be leading the session today. For those of you that are joining, I do want to point you to the session page to a couple of important things. On the session page, there's a chat box as well, and I'll even show you where this is just in case you haven't seen this already. So if I share my screen here. On the session page, there's a chat box here. The chat within Zoom, as far as I know, isn't going to be available. So I would strongly encourage you, as you have questions or things that you want to say, feel free to pop them into the chat box there. I also want to point you to the polls section, and this is something you could go ahead and take a look at. So within the polls, I've got a couple of questions here for you to start off with answering. One, how is your school utilizing the Work Ethic Diploma Distinction Program, if it is using it? So feel free to vote in that. And then also, how familiar are you with WeTrack, which is the tracking system we're going to be talking about today? So go ahead and take those polls if you would, and we'll take a look at the results in a minute. That'll just help me get a sense for the audience, I guess. And then I've also got some other polls down here at the bottom. Again, you can leave questions throughout the session in the chat, but you can also leave questions here in this poll section here. So there's a question for speaker poll question, and then I'm going to request some feedback as you watch the session today. If you see things that you would like to comment on, to give feedback or any kind of improvements or features you'd like to see added to the system in the future, feel free to do that and never miss a chance to get that feedback. And then also I have some questions here about, are you interested in some more information? So definitely keep an eye on the polls throughout the session, and there'll be some things you can interact with there. All right. Looks like I've got 42 folks here so far, so we may wait just another minute for folks to start. Again, if you're just popping in, make sure you go to the polls questions and start filling out these poll questions here. I'm going to do my very best to get us off here at 11:15 or a little bit before. So bear with me as we get started here, because I don't want to run over my time if I don't have to. So I think everybody should be able to hear me okay. Would somebody mind to just pop into the chat and let me know that I'm okay and good to go? And Gina, can you hear me okay still? Okay, all right, good deal. Well, I'm going to go ahead then and get started here. So first of all, again, my name is Law Loving. I'm the Director of Career and Workforce Readiness at the Niswonger Foundation. I run a couple of different programs with my colleague Gabby Billiot, who's in the chat as well. And then I also have my colleague from the foundation, Gina Pavlovich, who is my co-host. So you should be able to see Gina's smiling face there, waving. Gina's going to be helping me answer some questions today, as will Gabby. And we're really excited to be able to kind of share out some of the things that we're doing. I'm going to start with just a brief PowerPoint that I'll share with y'all. And then what I really want to do is dig into the actual WeTrack site. And really get you a chance to actually look at the ins and outs of that particular tool and feature. So let's start with the PowerPoint here. Give me just a second to share the screen and get it pulled up. And all right. So we're here today to talk about WeTrack and specifically its usage with the Work Ethic Diploma, Work Ethic Distinction Program. Before we jump into that specifically, I do want to point out that I'm coming to you, as are my colleagues from the Niswonger Foundation. I'm sure that several of you are familiar with the foundation, but just in case there are some folks that aren't, the Niswonger Foundation is located in Northeast Tennessee. The headquarters is in Greenville. But we really serve the entire Northeast Tennessee corner, at least historically that's been our mission. The foundation is almost 20 years old now, and has really been focused from the get-go on improving educational opportunities primarily for K through 12 students, but even for some higher ed folks throughout the northeast corner of the state. More recently, we have expanded some of our programs to be across the state, and WeTrack is certainly one of those in supporting the work ethic diploma. But we have a number of different programs, some that are very local, some that are statewide now. So I encourage you to go to nicewongerfoundation.org if you want to learn more about the different pieces of things that we do. The real reason that I wanted to mention that there are a number of different arms of the foundation is because I do want to give a plug right off the bat for my colleague Gina's program, Nicewonger Online. Gina's the director of that program. She actually will have a session as part of the CTE Institute tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. She has a ton of folks already signed up for that, but I would strongly encourage you to consider checking that out if you haven't already. She's going to be focusing on how to bring more online supplemental courses in the CTE space to your students. Nicewonger Online has been around now for almost a decade, so there's a strong track record there. And it was originally designed to provide some supplemental opportunities and some flexibility to students in terms of what courses they could take. It's an incredibly versatile and deep system. There's over 40 courses on there. They're all taught by Tennessee licensed teachers. They have everything from foreign language to personal finance to AP courses. The AP courses are College Board certified. All the courses are NCAA certified. So it's a really robust system. We have schools across Northeast Tennessee and across the state already taking advantage of these options and opportunities. And there are some really cool CTE offerings on there. So I, again, strongly encourage you to check out Gina's session tomorrow. Gina is going to post a link to the site, the Nicewonger Online site, in the chat box, and she'll have her information there as well. So feel free to go check that out on your own time also. And there is a poll question in the polls. The bottom question there is, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Nicewonger Online, feel free to leave your contact info there. So that's not a substitute for checking out Gina's session tomorrow, but if you want to go ahead and get the ball rolling, feel free to do it that way. Nicewonger Online is one of our other programs. So I want to switch gears now to the WeTrack piece of things. So really quickly, the foundation for WeTrack, or why it even exists, is the work ethic diploma. In some places, it's called the work ethic distinction. Some places are calling it the work ethic diploma distinction. There are various reasons for the different names, but it's really all the same program. I'm guessing that a lot of the folks have heard of the program. In some cases, I'm sure that you've already seen it implemented in some form or fashion in your school systems. But effectively, the work ethic diploma is a credential that high school seniors earn. It runs across 14 different standards, and you can see those here. So if you're checking out these 14 standards on the screen here, these are the short versions of them. If you want to see the longer versions, if you go to the files section of the presentation site, you'll actually be able to see the official documentation for what goes into each of these standards. So if you want to see the details, you can. But I want to give just a little bit of background about the work ethic diploma. So about 5 years ago, as part of the LEAP 1.0 state grant that was given out, there were some folks here in Northeast Tennessee that got together with some industry folks and some school folks and said, wouldn't it be great if we could provide our students, especially our seniors that are about to graduate, with an opportunity to demonstrate that they have both some character skills and soft skills and some technical skills. If they could prove that they have those, and then that would show that they're actually really good potential employees, at least in the very near future, they're going to be able to be employed. And that would be a way to communicate that to industry folks, and it would give industry folks a way to sort of identify those students and start to hire some of those folks and get them into their doors. The original folks that did this process sat down with the industries and said, what are the things you really care about? And there were things like attendance and discipline and tardiness and GPA. We also care about their technical skills. So we care about, are they doing CTE coursework and competitions? Are they getting industry certifications? Do they know what kind of industries are in the area? So they came up with these 14 standards, and each of them has a point total assigned to them. Students will work on these standards throughout their senior year. So you can imagine that, if you're a senior in high school, your attendance is important, but also whether or not you've done your CTE coursework. You can get some points for that as well. There's a number of different ways to get points on this, but as you get to 20 points, then you earn what's called the work ethic diploma, or again, the work ethic distinction or work ethic diploma distinction, depending on where you're at. The benefit here, of course, is that students are working on important things for them. So there's an intrinsic benefit to it. But there's also the benefit of the employers recognizing this credential, and because they're supporters, guaranteeing an interview to students that earn this. That interview is guaranteed for an open position that student is qualified for. So, it's not just necessarily any old job, or if there's no openings that they have to give an interview. But the employers basically want to see that students are completing these 14 standards, and that if they are able to do so and earn enough points, that then they want to offer the opportunity to get those students in the door via that interview. This is applicable to a broad number of students. You can see that if you're a student about to graduate high school and you're considering entering the workforce, this has the opportunity to really let you get your foot in the door somewhere. That interview piece is a really key step into getting that first job in your career. But even if you're a student that's going on to some form of higher education, whether that's a TCAT or a community college or even a traditional 4-year school, this doesn't expire. So this is still a credential you can work towards and earn, and still something that you can turn around when you're ready to enter the workforce and say, hey, I'd like to apply for this position and I'd like to get an interview because I've shown that I can do these particular standards and these particular things. When the program started, it started in 3 counties in Northeast Tennessee, and within a year it expanded to 6 counties as part of LEAP 2.0. And very shortly thereafter, it expanded across Northeast Tennessee to the service area that really the foundation is interested in, which is roughly 17 or 18 counties and 13 counties and 17 or 18 different school systems. It is grown very quickly and far beyond those bounds to the point where we have folks participating in WeTrack across the state. So we know that the work ethic diploma is very much active and alive, not just in Northeast Tennessee, but really all across the state. There was sort of an inflection point, if you will, after the first couple of years of tracking this, because there's a number of players, right? There's a number of stakeholders in this. So you have students who want to be engaged with the program or who need to be engaged with the work ethic diploma program, but don't have a great way to keep track of their points always. Some folks were having to keep track of points on a piece of paper. That's easy to get lost. That's a little bit 20th century in terms of keeping track of things. You also had staff who were really becoming overwhelmed, and this was something that the foundation started to hear. They thought this was a valuable program, but if you're looking at these standards, the person that tracks attendance is probably not the person that's tracking CTE coursework, and that may not be the person that's tracking industry certifications. So it became pretty burdensome to have one or just a few folks at a given school try to track points for students on this. We also had all kinds of systems in play. So we had Excel spreadsheets, we had folks doing it on paper. We had Google Docs that occasionally got overwritten and data got lost. And so there was just a very disparate, spread out number of different tracking options out there. And they were all, in-house, self-done to fit the needs of the given school. And so as we heard about these issues, we also heard from industry that were saying, hey, we'd really like to be able to interact with these students. We'd like to be able to reach out for them. We'd like to be able to verify that indeed, if they say they got a work ethic diploma, that they did do that. We don't really have a great way to do that. So all these things started to percolate, and eventually the foundation said, well, is there a way that we can help support this? And I should note that the foundation is very much in the business of saying, how can we help you? Not here's this tool, use it. So this is very much the schools come to us and tell us what they might need, and then we try and find a way to help support that. And that's what WeTrack was born out of. So WeTrack is essentially an attempt, and I hope it's a pretty successful one. I think it's a pretty successful one. It's an attempt to get students, on the one hand, engaged and to give them a place that they can interact with the program. It's a way to streamline and improve point tracking for the staff side of things, and to make things very efficient for them, because Lord knows counselors and teachers do not need one more thing put on their plates to try and keep up with. And then it's also an opportunity for employers to continue to stay engaged with the system and to engage with students on that side of things. Because ultimately, this is an opportunity for students to further their careers, and that's what we want to see happening. So that's the work ethic diploma standards in a nutshell. So really quickly, why would you use WeTrack? I sort of hit on a few of these things. It increases student engagement with the program. It allows you to streamline the point tracking process if you're a school staff member. Gives you some ability to centralize your data and keep things in a very neat and tidy package, and then also a very usable format. And then it gives the chance to connect those employers and those students. Also, it's free. So I'll just say that now. Everybody likes to not have to pay for things. So this is something that the foundation started offering 3 years ago in the fall of 2017 to schools in Northeast Tennessee, and we've since expanded that to being statewide, something that students, schools, and employers can use free of charge. We've built the infrastructure, and we just want you to be able to utilize it if you would like to. So I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint now. That's all the slides I'm going to bore you with today. I'm going to flip back over to our WeTrack page really quickly here. I'll take a pause and see. I don't see anything in the chat. Gina, do we have anything going in the chat or any? Okay, here we go. There it goes. It updated.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So let's see. Any good questions here that I
wrote down a few. You can see at the end someone wrote, do all the points have to be earned during the senior year, or are all points earned during the senior year?
That's a great question. So there are a few of the standards that lend themselves to being earned prior to that. So probably one that you've caught is CTE coursework. That's one that if you're doing that over the course of your high school career, those points can certainly be counted from a sophomore year class or a junior year class. There's no limitation on that one. There's a standard that involves the work keys test. If you're offering that, if a student takes the work keys as a junior, that's just as valid as if they take it as a senior. The majority of the standards, though, are senior year based. So things like attendance and tardiness and discipline. We care mostly about the most recent data points for those things. And so those are things that you're gonna track and add points for based on the senior year and not prior years. That's a good question, though, for sure.
And I think the only other one you're actually probably about to go into when you start going into your WeTrack website, that it said, how should we be keeping the WED documentation?
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, we certainly will we'll hop into that, and then Brian, if you have a follow up to that, definitely let us know. So really quickly, then let's hop over to our work ethic diploma page. Now, on the last slide that I have, and I'll go back to my slides in a minute, but and on the last slide I have my contact info, and you probably saw on some of the slides workethicdiploma.com. We're going to be looking at a demo site here. Whether you realized it or not, you guys are actually going to get the chance to see some of the new features, some of the brand new things that we just added this summer. You're going to be the first folks to actually get a look at them. And some of them are still works in progress. And so not every new thing is on here just yet. But I tried to get as many things from the developers added to the site ahead of this presentation as possible so that you all could have some first looks at things. So the site is really accessible by, again, the three main stakeholders. So there's a student side, there's a staff side, and there's an employer side. I'm going to start with the student side. We're on the demo page here, but this is basically an exact mirror copy of what the live site looks like. And if you're in a school system that's already using WeTrack, then you kind of know this is the bread and butter here. So this is the home page. I'm going to log in as a student here, and just start by showing you the student side of things. So students can create accounts on their own. That's not the only way that a student can get an account, but that is one of the primary ways that they can get an account. And you probably noticed on the home page there was a register button. That's how you register as a student. When you go through that process, you're going to input some basic information. So I'm going to show you that here with an already created account. You're going to have to put in your student username. They can pick that out. Their first and last name, an email, date of birth and gender are optional. They can put those in there if they want. They will have to select their school and their date of graduation. That's really important, obviously, that they get assigned to the right school and the right staff. And then there's a couple other options here that I'm going to talk about in a second. I will point out that this person is listed as an alumni account. Once you create an account with WeTrack, that account doesn't go away just because you graduate. This person, this demo person, graduated in 2018. So this is labeled an alumni account. The alumni account in practice doesn't have too many different features other than that. It's just an archived data point, and it'll give them some ability to do some different interactions with employers. But for now, this is what a student account would essentially look like. Students have the ability to control whether or not they hear from employers. I'll show you more about that on the employer page, but just know that all the control happens on the student side. So if they do not want to hear from employers, they don't want to get notifications, they can certainly uncheck that box and they won't get them. They have the option to keep us updated on where they're pursuing secondary, post-secondary education if they would like to. So this person happens to be at Tennessee Tech in Elizabethton. This I think is our developers' attempt at TCAT in Elizabethton, but so they've listed that there. And then we've also got, they can put their estimated graduation date if they want to keep us updated on that. So there's a way to collect some self-reported data there as well. And then importantly, students have the option to select their career interests. So you'll see we've got the 16 career clusters here. Students can multi-select. So if I'm interested in advanced manufacturing, but I'm also interested in business management, I can pick however many interests. I can pick them all if I want. As my interests change, I can update this. This is important primarily for this employer piece, because we know that employers are going to be looking for students or for potential employees in their given field, and they obviously would like to select people that are interested in that field. So if a student doesn't fill these things out, they may not get the same notifications as if they said, hey, I'm interested in these things, as employers reach out to them. This is the basic page here for these students. They have a couple of other things available to them here. So they have the ability to change their password. You can see that this student has a notification in the system, as denoted by this number 1 here. So I can click on that and show you what that looks like very quickly. It looks like they have had some points that have been added here for attendance. So that's an important piece. We want them to be able to see when they've had points added. There's also a tracking page where they can actually keep track of the points that they've had by standard. So they can make sure that if they were supposed to get some points for something and that they're not getting those points, they can see that, hey, I need to go follow up with my staff person on that. That page is actually being tinkered with, so it's not visible here, but just know it's there. There's also a transfer button as well. So we don't want students to lose their points if they need to switch between schools. That's a pretty common thing. So that one is also being tinkered with at the moment to improve its usability a little bit. But just know that if a student needs to transfer schools to another work ethic diploma school, they can absolutely do that by logging in and clicking transfer and selecting their new school. And then that request will pop up over on the staff side for the folks at that school. The real nifty thing here, though, for students is that they can go to this upload documents page. In the past, historically, this was just a repository for them to actually keep track of their stuff digitally. So if they wanted to scan an industry certification, or if their school gave them, a form that said, hey, you've earned a work ethic diploma, they could put that up here. They have a number of different formats that they can utilize to do that. But it just sort of served as a data bank. That's shifting a little bit. It still has the repository feature, and if I'm a student, I can always go back in and get my documents back out of here. But now we're actually linking this with the staff side of things. So what that means is that if I'm a student and I have an industry certification, and that corresponds with standard 13, I think it is, maybe standard 12, but if it corresponds with the standard, I can upload it, and then after I've selected the file, I can go to select a standard. And now I can scroll down here and say, okay, this should satisfy the industry certification piece. And when I click submit, that document is now going to be visible on the staff side of things. So in the past, if you got an industry certification and you wanted the points for it, you had to take that piece of paper and you had to show the staff person at your school, hey, I got this industry certification, and then they would have to go in and add the points. Now all that happens with just a few clicks. So this will get submitted, and off it will go to the staff side of things, and I'll show you on that page how the staff can then add those points and approve that, hey, the student indeed got this industry certification. It may not make sense to use this for every standard, and like most things with WeTrack, you don't have to use this document upload feature, but we know that a number of schools have been encouraging their students to do similar type things already, and so we felt like this was a functionality that was worth building in and adding to the site. This is brand new this summer, this ability to connect your students' uploads with the staff side of things and link them to a given standard. So the student side of things is pretty basic. They have this ability, and again, they have the ability to keep track of their points and see their notifications. Importantly, if an employer sends out a job posting, it will not go to the student's email. We don't want to be in the business of spamming emails. That gets you in trouble with Google and just generally irritates people. So all of that runs through this notifications feature. And if you're a student that's interested in those things, that's another reason why it's important to stay engaged with the site, because those are all going to go here. If you want to make sure that you're up to date on your job postings, that happens in this notifications tab. So that is the student side of things. I'm going to log off of that very quickly to really spend time on the staff side here. So I log in to. So the staff folks have a number of different options here. Right off the bat, you can see, this is your profile page. Your school's at the top. You can alter your username and your first name and your last name and your email at any point in time. The only thing that's locked is your school. That doesn't mean that if you have a staff member that shifts schools for some reason that they can't be transferred. But we prefer to approve on our end a staff transfer like that, at least a direct transfer, it's possible that the schools can manage that themselves, and I'll show you what that looks like. But generally speaking, we're very protective of student privacy and student information. And so we want to make sure that staff members that are assigned to a given school only see the students at that school. They're not going to be able to see other students, and other staff members from other schools are not going to be able to look in and see their students. There is one exception to that. We do have a new feature coming this summer. That's going to be a master account, and that might be for if a superintendent of a school really wants to look into this, or if there's a CTE director that manages multiple schools. There's a way that we can approve them to have access to multiple schools. But that's on a per approval basis. We want to make sure that person should definitely be authorized to do that. And so that will not be the standard account. Most accounts will only have access to the school that they're assigned to. Before I look at the managed students page, I'm going to skip that because that's where a bulk of the options are here. I do want to point out though that once your school gets set up, if you're a new school system or a new high school wanting to use this program, once your school gets set up with an initial contact at the school, you can actually do a lot of your account management from there, from the staff side. So you could come back to me and say, hey, we need all these different folks added. We want to add these CTE teachers, and we want to add these these other teachers and these counselors. But you can also do that stuff on your end. We want to try to give you the flexibility to do as many things as possible from your side of things as you can. We're always here to support, and we don't mind hearing from you on those things, but we just want you to know that you have the ability to do them. And generally, your ability to do them is quicker than my ability to do them. So, so if you wanted to add a new staff member here, for example, you could do that. You just click on the Add New Staff button, and then it's just a matter of creating a username and password for them, and then inputting their first and last name and their email. So with just a few little boxes there, you can very swiftly create several staff members. And this is important because historically, when the work ethic diploma was first being tracked, generally fell on the shoulders of maybe an assistant principal, often a counselor at a school, and it's hard for one person to do all of those things. So what this does is allow you to say, hey, look, the CTE teachers need to be engaged with this. They need to be involved with this. They know, the handful of students that they have that do an industry, certification or an industry, a CTE competition. You can have access to this and go in and add points as well for those particular standards and those particular students. So it helps streamline that workload a little bit by not putting everything on one person's shoulders who may or may not have access to that information. But adding staff is very easy. You have no limit on the number of staff accounts you can have. That allows you to do some tinkering. So if you decide to implement this and in year one you're doing things a certain way and it's not quite working out, you can add or subtract staff members from this page. Small school systems obviously will do things one way. If you're a really big school, you might choose to have a lot of folks engaged. There's a number of different models for this, and I won't go into those now, but if you're thinking about implementation, just know that we can help you think about the flexibility and the different ways to utilize this piece of the site. You also have the ability, of course, to change the password. You've got some FAQs down here. I'll quickly show you the reports because this can be important for reporting purposes at your school or district level. So what this allows you to do is see all the students that are in the portal for your school for a given year. So you can select, this graduation year. There are no students in here right now. We want to see, the student that we have in here. We know he was in the year of 2018, Demo Smith. So we can see them here. And then we can see that they have, so they've got their username, their first and last name, their graduation year. You can do some sorting by these things as well. But then a new feature and a new addition, and one that's been requested, is you're going to start to be able to see what standards they earned. And that's helpful in a couple of ways. One, if you have a bunch of students earn the work ethic diploma and they all passed their drug screen or they all had really good attendance, you can tout that. You can say, hey, look, all of our students coming out of here that are doing these things, they're knocking it out of the park when it comes to attendance. They're knocking it out of the park when it comes to CTE competitions. You also might be able to identify some outages. So you might say, hey, we had 75 students earn the work ethic diploma this past year, and none of them got industry certifications. Are we missing something there? Are there students that are doing industry certifications that aren't engaged, or maybe we need to find a way to offer some more of those things? So it gives you some opportunities to identify some holes as well. You can also do some very basic calculations if you know how many seniors you have, how many are in the system, and however many have achieved the diploma. Then you can calculate participation rates and completion rates and that kind of thing. So just some good information to be able to have access to. And unlike an Excel spreadsheet, unlike a paper form, this is usable data that you can create graphs and charts with. You can export it into Excel and do a number of things with it. So it makes life a little bit easier from the staff standpoint when it comes to reporting. I'll show you the bulk registration piece as well. So I mentioned that typically speaking, what happens is the schools will talk to their seniors about the work ethic diploma. Sometimes they do it even as juniors at the end of their junior year, and then they'll have students sign up for the accounts. What we found is that there are some schools that would rather have all of their students uploaded at once. So they would rather have all the seniors for a given year have their accounts created at one time. And for a while, the only way to do that was to go in and register individually each student one by one by one. We've since added this bulk registration feature. So if you're a school that's considering, hey, we'd like for all of our students to participate in this program, we'd like for them all to be actively pursuing a work ethic diploma, you can do that here through this bulk registration button. You download the template. It's just a CSV file in Excel format. You'll put in the important key pieces. So they've got to have a username, a first and last name, their school, their graduation year, a password for their account, and their email. And once you do that, then boom, they'll get uploaded into the system for the given year. The only thing is then it's very much on the staff to communicate to their students, hey, look, you've already got an account on workethicdiploma.com. Here's how you log in. Here's your information. And make sure that you go in and do things like update your preferences, right? So update whether you want to hear from employers, update what you're interested in. You also may want to encourage them to shift from a school email, which goes away usually upon graduation, to a personal email for their account. That's very helpful for password retrieval. If they forget their password in a couple of years and they want to access the site, if they have a school email listed in there, it's going to be hard to access that password. So the way to think about this is just that, you know, you have to make sure you're doing a good job of marketing if you're going to bulk upload this piece. You're going to have to make sure you're very clear with your students what they've been assigned and how to get into the site and what their responsibilities are as far as using the site goes. So the last thing that I really want to focus on here then is this Manage Students page. And don't worry, we've only got this link and then a little bit of the employer side to show you. So we're going to finish up on time, I believe, and should have some time for some questions as well. So this is what the Manage Students page looks like. And there are a couple of different ways here to actually add points for students. So right off the bat, you can see Demo Smith is in here again. So far, they have 3 total points. The standard, easy, individual student way to add points is just to click this drop-down button here, and you'll be able to see that, okay, all the standards are listed here. So if we want to add points for tardiness, for example, they've had no more than one unexcused tardy, we can go ahead and edit that. We can check that box and click update. And you'll notice that went from a no here to a yes. But the points have not been added up here. So if we refresh the page, the points should pop up there, and you can see that now Demo Smith has 5 points. So that's good. We know the site's calculating properly. Importantly, though, some of these you can't earn multiple points for multiple standards here. So what I mean by that is if you have no more than 1 absence, you're going to get 3 points. You're not also going to get 2 points for no more than 3 absences and 1 for no more than 5. So the site is set up with some fail safes. So if I were to change this over here to click has achieved for no more than 3 absences and update it, then notice that this shifted to no. So there's some ability to keep you from accidentally clicking the wrong things in here. This is the very individual way to do things. Now you'll notice that we only got 1 student in here, so it's pretty easy to see, all right, we can drop this down and we can do this for Demo Smith. But if you have 100 students in here or 500 students in here, you need some ways to sort and filter, and you have those already built in. So if you want to sort alphabetically, you can actually just click the top of the header here, so the username, and you can see now this is being sorted ascending, this is being sorted descending, and this is back to the normal view here. So just clicking that gives you some sorting abilities. You also have the ability to do some filtering. So if you really want to dig down in here and you want to find everybody named Demo, you can find all the items that are equal to to Demo, and it will display these folks here. But you have a number of options, so you can also do, if it's not equal to Demo, if it starts with the letter G, or it contains the name David, whatever it is, you have a number of different ways to actually identify and locate the students that you want to actually add points for. Same thing numerically here. If you want to search by points and see maybe which students are very close, like which students might have 18 or 19 points, and is there something you can do to help push them over the edge? You can use this feature here just to click and sort through, or to identify them exactly with the filtering option. Sometimes we have students make multiple accounts on accident. That's what this deactivate button is for. This doesn't delete accounts. It just deactivates them. So if you need to retrieve one later on, we can do that for you on the backside. Just know it clears them out of this screen for you. This can also be kind of cumbersome for certain things. So I will point out that we do have a bulk uploads feature, and that's just right below it here. If you have a lot of students that have really good attendance or a lot of students that earned an industry certification, there's a checkbox here beside their name. You can go through this part of the site and click all the students that you want to add points for, okay? And then instead of having to click this drop down and add the points for them individually, if you look down here at the bottom, now that I've selected those students, I can go down through here and find, all right, all the students that have a GPA above 3.5, let's say. I can select that. Actually, I can select multiples. So if I want to add, for a national CTE competition to this same group of students, I could in theory. And then down at the bottom, I would just click apply points. And when I click that, it'll say successfully updated points. And I should be able to then refresh this and see, hey, look, now Demo Smith has 10 points. So we just added those points for them in a bulk fashion. Not every standard does it make sense to use this for, but for certain things like attendance, where you're not tracking that actively throughout the year, you're going to look at that decision point one time in the spring generally and go ahead and add the points for that. This can be a streamlined way to not have to click through every single student and add points in a very tedious way. Now, we'll point out up at the top here, there are a few other tabs to look at. So if you get any transfer requests, those will pop up here. You'll see they have a notification like this beside upload. So if there were transfers in the portal, they would be right here. Unverified is for those students that create an account on their own. So we want to give you the ability to say, hey, this student actually does go here. They do have an appropriate username, no foul language or whatever restrictions you want to put on that. And so they would pop up here in this unverified section. So if you're having students create their accounts on their own, just know that they'll all pop up in unverified, and you have to approve them before they'll show up on this Manage tab. If you're doing the bulk upload feature that I showed you, they will automatically be approved because we know that you're doing that. So there's no reason for you to have to then go behind it and approve it again. So the advantage of bulk uploading there in that case might just be that you don't have to click into the unverified and actually verify those students. We also have this uploads and past uploads feature. So that's that uploads thing that we were showing on the student side. So here we have Demo Smith, and you can see this is that document that Demo had uploaded. And this one has not been reviewed yet officially. This will actually keep track of who has reviewed the document. So you can always see which staff member actually did this, and it'll show you which standard it's associated with and the upload date here. You can approve or deny the points, and they will get added or not added, as it were. And then once you do that, everything is going to shift over to this past uploads page. So again, this is a new feature. It's something we're tinkering with, but here's a demo document that has been moved to this past upload side of things. This one has, is actually a copy of the one that was in the upload section. So, but in theory, these would be uploaded, they would be reviewed, they would ship to the past uploads, and if you ever needed to go back and refer to them on your end, you could do that here. So that way, if you made a mistake or you wanted to double check something, you absolutely could go back in and retrieve that document. But it won't sit here as if it's an upload that needs to be actively looked at. So that's the staff side of things. We do more in-depth trainings with step-by-steps, and those we'll have some of those on the books for August. So if this seemed a little bit whirlwind to you, don't sweat. We'll have the opportunity to dig into it a little further if you'd like to. Very quickly, I just want to show you the employer side. This will be the last thing I really do here. So if I log in as an employer, just so you kind of know what employers are seeing. On their end, they really have the ability to do two things. Obviously, they have a profile, and we'll be working on building these out and doing a little bit more work on the About page with them for that. They have the ability to change a password. They have the FAQ, but then the student search is their primary function. And they can do two things. Number one, they can look for students to see if they have actually achieved the work ethic diploma. So the use case here is if I'm Demo and I want to go apply for that open position, I can say, hey, I've got a work ethic diploma, and this is the way that the employers can actually verify that, right? So I could give them my student ID. Every student has a unique ID in the system, or I can go in here and I can say, all right, well, Demo has applied for this program or for this open position, and I can check the name. And then the system will show you, hey, this is Demo Smith. They were at Demo School. This is their grad year. And importantly, all the employer will be able to see is whether or not the student got the 20 points and earned the work ethic diploma. They won't be able to see, did the student pass a drug screen or did the student earn an industry certification? It's just a yes or no binary. Because again, no matter what combination of 20 points the students get, if they get those 20 points, they're considered an earner. So we want them to be able to see that. Demo does not have enough points yet, so Demo would not be able to take advantage of this just yet. They also have the ability to search for students by interest. And so we can select advanced manufacturing, for example. And then if they're interested in an internship, for example, they might choose under 18. Or if they're looking for somebody that's recently graduated, they might click 18 to 20. And so we can search students and alumni. In this case, because there are no students in the system really, it's going to say no students found matching the criteria. In the live site, this would pop up and say, there are 153 students that match this description. And from there, then they won't actually be able to see those names, but they'd be able to take that job posting or whatever information it is and plop it in here and send that notification. And that would pop into the notifications page on the student alumni side of things, and then they'd be able to follow up with that. So it's a way for employers to directly be able to communicate, hey, not only do we have a job opening, we would really like for work ethic diploma students and earners to apply for it. So it connects them with those students, which is really the intent of the program to begin with. So that's it. I want to pause here. I don't want to run too much up against the time. I'm going to flip back over to the CTE page here.
We do have a number of questions popping
Okay.
up also.
All right.
I'm just going to kind of go in order. Someone, and I know the answer to this one, but I'd rather you say it, but someone asked, is there any kind of license needed to use this program?
No, no. Some school systems do decide they want to enter into an MOU with us on it, which is non-binding, but sort of spells out what the different parties are going to be doing. We can do that if you'd like, or if you just want to sign up for it. Again, it's free, so there's no real hook or crook to it. If you get access to it and you decide you don't want to use it for some reason, then you don't have to. Nobody's going to make you use it or anything. So no, it's just a matter of shooting me an email with your school and your first contact name and email address, and then we can start getting you signed up from there. Good question though.
We had a what are the costs question, which we said it's free. So I do want to stress that again. But then a bigger question I wanted you to touch on. Someone asked, do you see any limitations on students who are attending school virtually?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so part of the reason we really wanted to push to get the upload feature into this was to help ameliorate some of those issues. So again, if your system in the past has been, hey, I've taken this drug screen and now I have to go turn it in person to the person at school, and you can't do that because you're not in school at that point in time, that makes it very hard to get the points for that. So the upload feature certainly helps with a lot of that, and that would be my recommendation, would be to heavily use that. That being said, there are a couple of other things that I see being issues. One is that if you are out of school but you don't have great internet access at home, we still might figure out a way to work with you on that. So if that's certainly something that you see your students running up against, let me know, and we'll try to figure out a workaround or a solution for that. Even if it means they can take a picture and text it to somebody, we'll find a way to work around that. The other thing that I would say is we did have some folks miss out on things like CTE competitions at the end of last school year, for example. So they would have gotten some points. They were all signed up and ready to go, and that didn't happen. We did extend some on a per request basis. We did extend some ability to say, okay, you knew your students were going to go do this. They were all signed up. Maybe they paid their fees. So we did give the ability to give some points on a case-by-case basis for things that were missed because of that. We also allowed in some cases for people to go back if they knew a student had done something their junior year and then they just hadn't had the opportunity to do it senior year because of COVID. We allowed them to give points for that this past school year. So we try to be flexible. We try to stay as much as we can. We stay with the letter of the rules, but if we have to bend that to go to the spirit of the rule, given very different, unusual times, then we certainly will try to do that as it makes sense to do that. That's a good question. Hopefully that answered it.
Another great question, is there a list of businesses or employers who are participating in this program? Yeah,
there is. So it sort of depends on your region right now. There are a bunch that we have already listed from Northeast Tennessee, and I didn't really touch on this, but if you're looking at this screen here, if you go to the About screen, this is just general information. On the About screen, there's an Industry Partners page. This is going to look very, very different within like the next 2-ish weeks. But for right now, you can see there's a listing here, and we just show some of the different folks that are involved. what this is going to look like in the very near future is it's going to be a series of these logos with the company listed below. So for Lear Corporation, it would show this logo and then it would say Lear Corporation below. And you're going to be able to click into that and actually see a profile page with, in as many cases as possible, and this is a little bit hard to maintain, but we're going to do our best to do it. They're going to have a profile page that talks about what the company does, what their website is, where their career page is, and then also ideally a contact person. We'd love to have their HR rep or whoever it might be that's interacting with Work Ethic Diploma listed there, with even with just an email or maybe a phone and email. And that way students can do more research on that company if they want to, or if they want to be proactive and reach out and say, hey, I'd love to work at this company. Let me see what it takes. They have the ability to do that. We're also going to be working on geotagging that. So in theory, if you earn a Work Ethic Diploma in Johnson County, in the northeast corner of the state, you can go all the way to Memphis, and if they're recognizing it there in Memphis, then you could apply for a position there and get the same benefit. In practice, we know that most of the time this is going to be used locally and regionally. So we want you to be able to see all the employers, but we certainly want you to be able to prioritize those that are closest to you. So we're going to be working on some functionality that allows that to happen. We've got a couple of ideas that we're testing out, so I don't want to say too much about what that will look like exactly. But yes, we'll be updating this to actually list as many of the employers as we possibly can across the state.
And so we have two more questions that are very specific. And Brian and Darcy, we will touch on these. But since we are at time, I think, Law, if you want to just go ahead and give that keyword. So if some people do need to hop off to go somewhere else. And then Brian and Darcy, we can cover your questions a little bit more in depth if you can stay on a few minutes.
So I've got my contact information up here. If you want to go ahead and reach out, you can do that directly, or you can answer the poll question. There's a poll question that asks if you want to know if you're interested in participating in WeTrack. Feel free to sign up there. Our session keyword is Minnesota. So go Golden Gophers, I guess. Minnesota. So if you want the credit for that, make sure you get Minnesota. The PowerPoint and the Work Ethic Diploma standards are available for download in the files section as well. I think this is being recorded, so you should be able to come back and access this if you would like to. So yeah, thank you very much for attending. If you have more questions, feel free to stay on and we'll answer them as we can. But I really appreciate the participation and the good questions and your time today. And don't forget, tomorrow at 2:30, go check out Gina's Nice Longer Online session as well.
Thank you. So Law, if you look at chat, you should be able to see someone had a question about logging into their account and not seeing the new feature to upload documents.
Yeah, it's not been rolled to the live site yet. Yeah, so that's part of me saying this is a brand spanking new feature is we like to test the heck out of these things so that when you get them, you don't have to have all kinds of glitches and stuff. And it doesn't mean that we're perfect, but that's a feature that we just rolled out like within the last week. And so it's on the demo site, it's on the test site. We're going to be really digging into it for the next couple of days. And we'll roll out new features as they become available. So the goal is to get that feature and anything else we're working on, the additional reporting features and the other things that we're talking about up and running within the next couple of weeks so that they're ready for the beginning of school and that we can do some trainings. But yeah, you will not see them. If you already have access to WeTrack, you won't see them just yet.
And then finally, can the program be loaded for earners on the intranet, then searchable on the internet?
On intranet, searchable.
Are you seeing that? It's by Darcy.
I'm not sure. So I'm not sure that I understand that question fully.
Yeah, I think we would need more information on that.
What I will say is workethicdiploma.com is a website like any other. It's totally in the cloud. There's no download. There's no software or anything that you need to pull down. So I'm not sure if that helps or not. But I have somebody has a hand raised. Let's see. How do I? All right, Anthony. You're. I think you may have to unmute yourself, but I've acknowledged you there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was freezing up a bit. Have you already given the keyword? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, the keyword is Minnesota. I'll throw it back up here for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's on the bottom here of my screen. Minnesota.
I got you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yep. So Darcy, if that did not answer your question, maybe give us a little bit more information and I'll do my best to answer it. Or you can shoot me an email if you want to. That works also. Oh, I see. So my students are not allowed on internet, so I guess I cannot use on intranet.
That's tough.
Yeah, I see what you're saying
Yeah.
there. Darcy, let me think about that question. If you wouldn't mind to put your contact info, in that poll question. I'm very interested in access for as many folks as possible. And just because they're not the traditional internet pathway doesn't mean we can't look at a workaround for them. So let me think about that. I don't want to say totally no, but I understand now what you're saying is that they need access within the intranet so that then somebody somewhere can maybe later on put it into the internet. I think that might be possible. All right. Any other questions? Anything you saw, Gina, that was
No, I don't. I think I hit all of them that I
Okay.
had written down. So.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much to those that are still. Okay, cool. I see your email there, Darcy. Excellent.
Okay.
I will figure out how we can maybe do that because that's a population that definitely should have access to this. Yes. So thank you very much. And again, I'll throw up my information here one last time. So if you want to shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm very accessible, and hopefully we'll see some of you in the very near future on some WeTrack trainings as you start to utilize this within your school systems and your other organizations. Yeah, have a great rest of the day. I hope the rest of your CTE sessions go well. Yeah, and I'll turn things off now. Let's see.